to talk to her about? Getting married. She wasn't sure she was ready for that, if she would ever be ready for that. She squeezed her eyes closed on that thought, the unnamed emotion clogging her chest. Every time she thought about marriage, it would crop up like some kind of plague. She'd been in some pretty scary situations, so why did marriage make her want to run for the hills like a scared little girl? "Promise," he said. "Promise," she replied. Dana disconnected the call as the motorboat pulled up beside the dock, along with another boat, whose engine had been drowned out by their transportation. It was a ferry to Subsuro and Capurganá, where migrants could then traverse overland to La Miel, Panama. These migrants weren't forced to go through the gap as they had documentation that would allow them to pass without a problem. That wasn't the root of her story. As her crew loaded up their gear into the motorboat, she'd worry about Jeff when she got home. She didn't need distractions on this trip. People without documentation were forced to hire coyotes, part of the clan Los Piratas, who would charge between $500 to $700 and transport them in poorly maintained boats, often leaking, but were also notorious for conscripting migrants as mules, then disposing of them. That had been her story. Clan Los Piratas was a neo-paramilitary group with upwards of 20,000 members and the most dangerous group in the area. Dana had read that they had murdered several Americans, many DEA agents, and were on the U.S. government's list. They had a stronghold in the Darien Gap, but she was confident they wouldn't bother them with their FARC approval and their sanctioned story about the migrants. She had to wonder if she'd been totally wrong. Even as the sun rose and the misty jungle lay like a dense, dark giant across the river, she shivered in the steamy air. The man who was threatening her had the steely look of one who was used to being in control. Heading into the world's most dangerous jungle hadn't been on Dana Sorenson's radar until months ago, when she'd gotten an email from her dying mother asking Dana to do something for her. Tell these people stories. Let the public know what was happening. It had been the last correspondence Dana had received before her mom, her brave, beautiful, accomplished mom, had lost her fight with cancer. As a surgeon involved with Doctors Without Borders, her mom had met and married Dana's dad, who was a nurse also serving with them. She often wondered if she could even live up to her mom's ability to be so selfless. Even as the tears moistened her eyes, Dana tried to tell herself that she had no way of knowing her mom was going to go so fast, before Dana could get home. And with guilt pressing in from all sides, eating at her, the grief still fresh, Dana was going to fulfill her mom's dying wish, come hell or high water. She'd pitched her mom's story to the editor for Trek magazine about migrants traveling through the Darien Gap to make it from Colombia to Panama, then up through the Central American peninsula, with the final destination the U.S. It had all stemmed out of her mom's last trip to Asia, where she'd found out that a lot of migrants were heading through South America to bypass the routes that had dried up due to stronger restrictions. And it wasn't just Asia, but a slew of foreigners looking for a better life free from war and persecution. After meeting their contact, Captain Enrique Escobar, a middle-aged, dark-haired man with gray at the temples and in his close-cropped beard, his sharp eyes and features telling Dana he had seen plenty in the Gap, they were transported into the Gap. During the past dire week, with the constant threat of robbery, kidnapping, and death, he and his men hiked the route, while she and her crew recorded one of the world's most dangerous journeys. She and her crew hacked through spider-infested mangrove swamps, walking for days in muggy, 90-degree temperatures, the migrants surviving on crackers and gulping river water. Each of these people, a man from Jafar, Bangladesh, trying to escape its cutthroat political gangs and miserable working conditions, another Bangladesh woman, not much more than a girl, a rural laborer who'd gone to the jam-packed cities for work and found herself locked in the bowels of unlicensed garment factories working for 20 cents an hour, and countless others, Syrians, West Africans, and Cubans, had made the terrible trek with them. She'd interviewed many of them who told their heartbreaking stories. She and her crew had documented everything on memory cards, and they were carefully kept in a waterproof bag in her pack. By accident, she found some old footage of her and her mom when she'd met up with her overseas and interviewed her for a piece that had never been aired. Stupidly, she'd forgotten about it and realized this was her only copy. She'd edit this and get it aired when she got home. She'd contact someone she knew at 60 Minutes or National Geographic who would jump at the chance. But once they had reached their destination, they had been stopped by San Front Panamanian soldiers who'd